Three, two, one, and we're live. All right. Sorry, everybody, for the delays there. There was a new version of OBS, and so of course I rolled the dice to try to update it, thinking this is a big mistake. Why did I do this? But for once, it looks like it didn't break anything. So anyway, what we're doing today is I know I've been kind of on a Space Crusade kick lately. I thought I'd go back to our roots, back to Hero Quest, because I do have some exciting stuff I wanted to try out. Now, I know I'm not the first, as I so often say. I'm not the first. I mean, the homebrew community of HeroQuest has been around since the 90s. So, ever since the game basically stopped being on the market around 93, I mean, 92 was when the last expansion packs came out, but the game kind of dwindled after that. So, welcome, by the way, to those joining us, some regulars, another TV viewer, and Cacsips06. Just mute the mic here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so HeroQuest wasn't in the public eye like in the mid 90s. I mean, you had Warhammer Quest in the late 90s as a tribute to HeroQuest. I mean, you had Legacy of Sorasil on the Amiga computer. Not a lot of people played that apparently. It wasn't that big a hit. So the world kind of forgot about HeroQuest. But fans kept it alive, especially on the internet. I mean, the internet had been around for a while, of course. The World Wide Web was really just getting started in the early 90s. So you did have like message boards and stuff like that. BBSs is really what they were called, chat rooms, news groups. But then eventually down the line, you had places like Old Scratch. You had uh, Dwayne Agan's Inn, which became Ye Olde Inn eventually. Some members took it over after he quit. He let them use his um, assets to create the site, and the rest is history. But I didn't get back into HeroQuest until maybe 2002, and even then, I was basically just using other people had created. I wasn't making my own stuff. It wasn't until maybe 2017 that I became active on the forums at Ye Olde Inn and started, tweaking other people's ideas, trying to think of my own stuff, kind of hash it out with other people about how we interpret the rules. It's funny because you think you know something for 30 years and then you talk to other people and they're like, "Nah, I didn't see it that way. I saw it this other way." It's like, "Oh, okay." Maybe you played Monopoly when you were growing up and you thought, "Hey, when you land on free parking, it isn't just free parking. It, gives you, extra money or something." It's like that's how your family always played it and then you run across somebody else and they're like, "No, free parking was just free parking." It wasn't anything. So it was fun to kind of discover that. But anyway, one of the things that always comes up, and it's been one of the problems ever since COVID lockdowns and everything. I mean, I used to enjoy going to board game night, meeting up with people, and actually playing live games the way they were meant to be played. Now that's gotten a lot tougher, and I don't necessarily live near everybody that I want to play as often as I want to. I mean, I'd like to play people on Ye Olde Inn. I'd like to play classic fans, people who remember the game from back in the day. And I hope everybody can see the stream okay. There's a slight delay, I think. Um, anyway, yeah, it's getting warmer. It's getting warmer out there. So before we were dealing with the cold, now we're dealing with the heat. But anyway, yeah, so HeroQuest lives on, and it's always a challenge trying to get people together to play, especially grown-ups, because the game was designed for 10-year-olds. The new game bills itself as 14 and up, but really, let's be real. The 14 and up thing, it's just a CYA clause. It really just means that they didn't test it to make sure, it was perfectly safe for little kids. I guess, there could be pieces that would break off that someone would swallow, or there might be mature content in there somewhere that they didn't, fully check out. It might be frightening for kids, or it might be drug references. But really, it's not so much that there's mature content in there that's inappropriate for kids. It's that there's pointy swords. I'm not kidding. So Advanced Hero Quest, when it came out, and this was 1989, like the tail end of 89 in the UK. Advanced Hero Quest, and it says 14 and up, and it's like sharp edges. So pointy swords are the reason why. And you'll notice that actually the Hero Quest pieces, like the swords and everything, they're a little bit more blunt than say like Warhammer Fantasy or 40K. Like they're a little bit sharper. So anyway, but yeah, so it's not really a game for teenagers and up. It's a game for all ages. So Hero Quest, its biggest strength is everything's in the box. It's simple. Use your imagination. You play it. But what do you do when you don't have enough people to play? And you don't have people that are willing to dedicate the time. I've notoriously been known to make really long games. I mean, you saw when I played Space Crusade. Space Crusade is supposed to be an hour, 2 hours. It took me 8 hours, nearly 8 hours to play Mission 2. Now, granted, I was controlling at first two factions in the GM, and then I was controlling three factions in the GM, even though those two factions were reduced down to one guy. So I was controlling all that, and I was learning the game. So it was more or less playing for the first time, making a lot of mistakes, having to consult the rules and think about it. And, for a game that I hadn't grown up playing, whereas Hero Quest, at least I grew up playing it, so I kind of remember it, even if, there's a couple things I sometimes forget or as sprinkle my own rules on there. I don't have to think about it. I mean, you could quiz me about what the spells do or, how much the weapons cost. And I could pretty much get it right almost every time, if not every time, on a good day. But not the same with Space Crusade. So anyway, I know it takes longer. These games really don't take that long to play. If you're already set up, everybody knows what they're doing, and there's a lot of side chatter and bathroom breaks and beer runs and, snack runs and all that sort of thing. But what if you want to play by yourself? I think playing as Zargon is so much fun. It's so great playing as the GM character because you're a storyteller, you control everything, and yeah, you could just slaughter the heroes easily. But you challenge them, but you kind of guide them along, and you're secretly rooting for them a lot of the time. A lot of GMs are. I mean, technically, the way the game is written, the North American version, you're trying to kill them, but you still have to follow the rules. But the thing is, if you screw up, if you make a mistake, like let's say I'm Zargon and I'm playing, and I forget to reveal a room that was filled with traps and monsters. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not required to beat the quest to go to that room. The heroes pass by and I forgot to put the door out. You know what? Forget it. Just pretend it never happened. Pretend it didn't exist. I mean, yeah, I could backtrack and go, oh well, there's actually this room here, and you got to go there and you got to fight everybody. But I screwed up. Just let it go. So if you make a mistake, especially if it comes out in the hero's favor, I mean, unless it's completely ridiculous, you just let it go. You just swallow your ego, your pride. So it's kind of like maybe the more mature or older player is the one who ought to be the GM. It's not always the case, but I like that aspect of it. It's fun. Now, Space Crusade is definitely designed more to say the GM, the Chaos player, who's called the Alien, is his own player, his own competitor. And yeah, there's a couple spots where, okay, yeah, he has to make an executive decision, but sometimes, I mean, it just comes down to a dice roll. It's like, who's right? Roll the dice. Whatever the dice says, that's what goes. And he has to abide by it. He has a rank, he has a score. So Space Crusade is different. They tried to make the GM more into a competitive player. Whereas in Hero Quest, he's still kind of a facilitator, a referee, um, an evil overlord, which is kind of a role he plays, but it's more like he's not really trying to kill the heroes. He just puts the monsters out and puts the traps out and lets them make their own mistakes. But if he sees something that'll make the game more fun and make it cooler, he can do it. He can throw in a little something now and then if he wants to. Well, so Hasbro, when they remade Hero Quest last year, they came up with, and it was finally released. Let's see, it was released around Christmas time, so I didn't really get to look at it until this year, early this year. The companion app. Now the problem is I don't have a smartphone. I know, I'm just stuck in the past. But yeah, if you don't have a smartphone to download this free app, then you're not going to be able to use it. And several people pointed out that yeah, the app, what it does is it automates Zargon, it automates the GM. So it tells you the monsters and everything, and the players just follow along with their physical board, and then they just play it. But they said, yeah, it's very rudimentary. Like the monsters just kind of like move straight towards you and attack. Maybe sometimes they'll attack the hero with the most body points, but there's just not a lot of intelligence. Whereas if a human player was controlling Zargon, it'd be much more interesting, much more fun. So it takes something out of it. But let's say you all want to be heroes. You don't have 5 people sitting around, and let's be real. If you've got one person, especially a little kid, trying to control 4 heroes, or just someone who's new to the game, it's going to take them a long time because they're like, messing with cards, like, what should I do? Whereas if you got multiple people, each controlling one character, that person can be like looking at their cards and going, okay, I'm ready to go. And they're just waiting for their turn. Boom, they do their stuff. And they're following along with everybody else. They're thinking about, okay, the dwarf is going over here. I'm the wizard. What should I do? Okay, when it's my turn, yeah, you get that person who's not paying attention, but that makes it go much more quickly. So there's ways to speed up a game. So I don't want you to see my games and think, my goodness, this game is like Axis and Allies. It takes 8 hours to play. I never want to try it. It's not that way. So don't take my my particular performance and tendency to get sidetracked and talk about other stuff to be an indicator of how the game normally goes. I mean, you can watch other people on YouTube, you can watch other people on Twitch, and you can see people like finish games in an hour or like 45 minutes. Sometimes people are just lickety split, just going through it really, really quick. And especially if you know what's going on. In some quests, I mean, there's lots of monsters, so it takes a long time. Others, you can take a shortcut, you get the mission done, and it's over like nothing flat. Well, I've seen a couple people. There was this couple, I forget their name. I didn't follow their channel too much, but I did see like one video that they did when the remake came out. Now I'm using the classic set. This is a custom board. I'll talk about that in a minute. But what they did is they were playing some rules from Eilden, I believe, where it was how to play solo using the physical board, but without using the companion app. And it was like you would draw these cards, and these cards would tell you like what each room has, like randomly. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. But the problem is, you may come up with rooms that make no sense. Like the door leads nowhere, the furniture's in the wrong spot, there's traps that just get you, and there's no possible way to avoid them. Just weird stuff. So something is lost when you do that randomness. So I wanted to come up with my own system. And I can't claim 100% credit because this is really borrowed from Space Crusade. I mean, after playing Space Crusade a couple times, yeah, I can't claim to be a master of the game. Like I've mastered it like someone who's played it for 30 years. Somebody like always bored, never boring. Somebody like that who actually grew up with it. But I was inspired enough that I created this little mini mod. So I'm going to talk about that now. Oh yeah, but first let me talk about this board. So this is not the original HeroQuest board, and this is not the remake board. What this is, I'll show you here, is I went to a website called Board Games Maker, boardgamesmaker.com. And this is not a plug for them, not sponsored or anything like that. They're the sister site to Make Playing Cards, which is one of these sites I heard about early on. Because there's lots of places you can go to if you want to print custom cards. You can just say, okay, I want this design, print up 100 of them for me, send it to me, and they'll do it, for fairly reasonable prices, and fairly good quality for what you pay. But yeah, so Board Games Maker, you can make a custom board, like your own game board. So I took a scan, the highest quality scan I could possibly get of the HeroQuest board, and I blew it up so that these squares are actually 1 inch. These are 1 inch squares, but it still has the dimensions and properties of the original board. So you can see this is not the remake board, because see how the HeroQuest logo is at the bottom? The remake board has it on the side, and the artwork is actually redone, whereas this is just blown up. I know it doesn't look it, but this is the original board. It would be much shinier. So I purposely got a matte finish because I think it shows up on camera better. It doesn't have a big glare from the lights because it's matte rather than and it's smooth rather than that shiny finish. And it's a quad fold, so I can actually fold it up and store it fairly easily, and actually much easier than just the regular board. It's square, so it's slightly different size than the remake board, but it's almost as good quality. Now this cost me like $45 once you factor in the shipping and tax just for the board. But still, I really like it, and I wanted to test out the theory that the two games were not compatible. People said, oh, the remake is not going to be compatible. Turns out we were wrong. A lot of our speculation was wrong. The furniture in the remake is the same size or smaller in most cases than the classic furniture, from 89, 90. And the figures, yeah, they're slightly bigger, but not much. So anyway, here's my homebrew rules. This is my idea of doing a solo game. And then after I've talked it to death, then I'm actually going to play it. So you can actually watch me do it. Watch me play HeroQuest by myself, controlling everybody, and not with the problems you'd normally have, which is if you're controlling Zargon, yeah, Zargon can see the board. He can see the quest map, so he can see all the secrets. So nothing's going to be a secret. So it's like, oh, there's a room full of traps. Well, I'm just going to be really careful before I go in there, that kind of thing. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. He's going to be just as surprised as everybody else. And really, the Zargon player is not anything because all we've got are some evil wizard cards that we're drawing, and we've got monster tokens. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain the rules, and then I'm going to set it up and show you. So this is my first draft, but I'm just going to read it. HeroQuest, Shadow Tiles, proposed rules for play. So I'm going to show you what these are. So these, I'm going to call them Shadow Tiles. So these are obviously inspired by the blip tokens in Space Crusade. See that? And yes, this is obviously based directly on the Death Mists tile from Return of the Witch Lord expansion. But yeah, so we've got all kinds of these here. So yeah, that's what they look like. All right, so I'm going to talk about it here. All right, inspired by the blip tokens from 1990's other Warhammer-inspired Milton Bradley fantasy board game, Space Crusade, these tiles are suggested as a possible alternate way to play HeroQuest, where the Zargon GM or Game Master role is not assumed by any individual player, but is more of an automated process using the standard set. Extra tiles are included to account for the extra figures present if one owns the expansion's Keller's Keep and or Return of the Witch Lord. So that's what these tiles you see are. These are the extras. If these are not owned, subtract the appropriate number of monster tiles. So 8 extra skeletons, 4 extra mummies, 4 extra zombies, 8 extra orcs, 6 extra goblins, and 3 extra fimers. And this is the Chaos Warlock. I just threw that in there. One way is to use a relatively generic quest layout, such as the Maze, which I plan to do. The Maze was the original first quest included in the premier UK edition of the game in 1989, with the doors, secret doors, and spiral staircase laid out visibly in advance, but none of the monsters placed. At the beginning, choose an entrance based on the square where one of the heroes would normally start, and the 4 heroes travel through that door onto the board. Once the last hero is through, this door is sealed shut behind them. Remove it from the board, and the only escape is through the central staircase. Gold rewards are printed on the tokens and given to the one who destroys the monster associated with it. So as you can see, this is a mummy, and whoever kills him gets 50 gold. Okay, it's 5 gold for the goblin and so forth. Now these values, these particular numbers, are based directly on the Japanese version of HeroQuest, which shout out to Hispazargon, who did a lot of work recently on that, translating the stuff into English, or at least getting the best translations he could find and putting them all together in a nice, easy format with the original illustrations. Really good work on that. Other people helped him, but of course he really spearheaded it, and just attention to detail, just top notch. Great job. Okay, so gold rewards are printed on the tokens and given to the one who destroys the monster associated with it. Wandering monsters do not provide gold rewards in this scenario. There will be a supply of tile tokens representing shadows. So I decided to call them shadows. So, ooh. Now I had an alternate artwork design. I thought, well, maybe I'll make them purple. Actually, I don't know. Maybe that looks cooler on camera. Purple or green? I mean, the original was kind of like a yellow color. So I don't know. I guess I could print up a second set. But all I did with these is I just printed the stuff out at like a print shop, and yeah, see, it's not even perfect. You can see there's like a little edge to it. I just used a glue stick to glue it to chipboard, cut it out with the scissors. Nothing fancy. I mean, Board Games Maker could actually make these for you. And yes, I did make them slightly smaller than the actual squares. So there. See that? That's how it fits. But when you think about it, the blip tokens in Space Crusade are smaller than the squares. So they were kind of my model for this. Whereas the Hero Quest squares, they tend to be almost the exact same size of the board squares. Whereas the figures are actually slightly larger. Anyway, okay, so there will be a supply of tile tokens representing shadows. These tiles should be shuffled and then placed on the board so that the identity of each is hidden from view of all players. Once a token is brought into line of sight of any hero, it should be flipped over and the corresponding miniature model placed on top. These could be monsters or pieces of furniture. The shadows are divided evenly by quadrant of the game board. Well, it's not 100% even, but as good as I can get it. And once a hero sets foot in that section of the board, the shadow tiles are placed and distributed among the available rooms. Each shadow moves up to 5 spaces at a time in the general direction of any heroes. And I'll have to remember that since I'm not playing Space Crusade, I can't move diagonally. In Space Crusade, it doesn't matter. Hero Quest, no diagonal moves. Okay, once any shadow comes into line of sight of a hero, it is flipped over and the miniature it calls for is placed on top. Keep track of the tile underneath because if that figure is destroyed, the corresponding gold value is awarded to the hero who killed it. Ordinary furniture have no value since they cannot be attacked, but mark a room that can be searched for treasure when it is unoccupied by monsters. See, normally you can search any room, but I've decided in this scenario, only rooms with furniture can be searched. But each hero can search that room one time. Should there not be enough monsters to fulfill what is called for, then another monster of the same color must be substituted. However, that monster, if killed, will give the gold value printed, even if it is less than what that monster typically would have. So let's say it calls for a goblin, and you're out of goblins, but you've got an orc. So you put the orc on there. You kill the orc, you only get 5. You don't get the orc value of 20, just because it was a substitute. All right. Should a piece of furniture be revealed that blocks a door or is inside a corridor, that furniture immediately collapses into rubble that can easily be bypassed by any figures traveling by. Remove the furniture from the board. So it just kind of self-destructs. Since furniture may take up more than one square, it should be placed in such a manner so that it stays within the room and doesn't push other figures away unless it has to in order to fit. If there is no room, it should be placed as close as possible to the original location of the shadow tile. And I would say it's just like Doom, when you telefrag somebody. If you don't have any room and it just pops up, the new thing gets destroyed. I guess in Doom, the thing that was there previously would get destroyed, but whatever. Okay. Any rooms with furniture may be searched by each hero for treasure in the usual manner. Draw a card from the treasure deck. Now, I do have this extra large treasure deck that I'm using here, so you can see there's way more than 24 or 26 cards in there, but that's okay. After all the heroes have taken their turns as normal, then all the shadow tokens on the board can be moved. Each of them may move up to 5 squares. Once revealed, a shadow permanently becomes the monster or piece of furniture called for on the tile. Should it be a monster, then it may then move whatever movement is normally left for that type of character. See the appropriate monster card. Just adjust this camera back here. So I got the classic monster cards right here. You may ask why I'm not using the remake. Well, I like the classic, and I'm using the classic this time. Maybe I'll use the remake in a future stream like this, if this goes well. Because it's the same thing, it's just a different style. All right. Okay, if it has already moved up to or above its maximum movement, then it can no longer move, but can attack a hero that is within range. So up to 5 movement once it's revealed, if it's got any movement left. So like if it's a goblin, they get 10 movement, so he'd have 5 more left. If it's a mummy, he only gets 4 movement, so he moved 5 and gets revealed, then he has no movement left. Okay. Shadows may move through one another and through other monsters, but cannot occupy the same square or pass through any hero figure. Should they be able to pass through furniture? I'm going to say no. Shadows are able to open doors, but may never close them. They may not pass through walls, but traverse the maze as any other figure otherwise. The Evil Wizard, or Zargon deck, available from Ye Olde Inn, little plug, is recommended for use, and after all the heroes have taken their turns, the top card is turned over. So this is kind of like in Space Crusade where you've got the alien event card. And yes, I just put my own little Zargon thing on there. So these are like evil event cards, basically. But instead of like holding like one to three of them in my hand, I'm just going to be flipping over the top one, and I'll explain. Okay. The top card is turned over. This card must be played immediately or discarded, wasted. Monster behavior will be such that they will pursue nearby heroes to attack them. So here's kind of that automated thing. If 2 heroes are equidistant from a monster figure, both heroes will roll 1 red die. The one with the lowest roll will be the one targeted by the monster for that turn. Otherwise, monsters behave as they normally would in Hero Quest. The wandering monster on the quest is decided by shuffling the game system monster cards. Only remove the gargoyle, which I've already done. I pulled the gargoyle out. Shuffling the game system monster cards and drawing one at random. This will be the wandering monster for the entire quest. Secret door tiles are placed out immediately in this quest, just as all doors are closed to begin with, and need not be searched for to be found. They are open immediately, even if they would normally not be in any hero's line of sight. A reward of 500 gold coins or other suitable reward decided in advance based upon the difficulty overall should be divided among the surviving heroes for clearing the maze of monsters, including any revealed wandering monsters. And so I've got my pieces here, figures, miniatures, got my furniture and tiles. And I think I've decided that I'm just, for this demonstration here, I'm going to just set aside these extras and only use the denominations of monsters and things that you'd find in the game system, as opposed to the extras that you'd find in Keller's Keep: Return of the Witch Lord. So it's going to be a lot of monsters when you think about it. It really will. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, here's a sample parchment text that could serve to introduce the adventure. All right, so I'm going to just stop the stream just for now, and we're going to restart the stream with the actual game. So this was the explanation. Okay. So I want to welcome everybody that's joining us now here on HeroQuest Fans. So another TV viewer and CACSIPS06. And after all is said and done, we will, of course, as usual, be placing this on XSC3, home of HeroQuest Fans, on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously it's not live. But I'm just going to stop the stream, restart it in a moment. And so please join us then. Thank you.